So Sonic Dream Team has officially launched, and not without its mire of controversy during the announced trailer. Fans had quickly discovered that this game was going to be exclusive to Apple Arcade, which led to a lot of people being upset. I can think of 100 million reasons why Apple Arcade is definitely a no-brainer business decision for Sega. Also, in addition to that, in 2022, mobile games generated $91.8 billion in annual revenue, compared to console games, which rank second with $52.2 billion. Sure, the rise of mobile games may have probably killed the integrity of the gaming industry, but that is not a conversation for today's video. Sega probably gave Apple a fat contract, a fat guaranteed payout. With their 100 million users on Apple Arcade, it makes all the sense in the world why this happened, and there are some good things about it. Sonic Dream Team is not your average mobile game. In fact, many fans are comparing this game to a lot of the mainline 3D titles. So how does this game hold up? Is this a worthy game to be compared to the 3D mainline Sonic games, or is everyone just overhyping this game with a case of Sonic recency bias? We're going to review Sonic Dream Team today and give you all my thoughts. Before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel with all notifications for daily Sonic uploads. I'll give you a second. And please smash the like button, join the comments down below, let me know your thoughts on this game. So I'd like to spend most of the time talking about the gameplay, but let's get into the story real quick just to give you context. The story plot synopsis says the world is in peril. The evil Dr. Eggman has discovered the Reverie, an ancient device with the power to make dreams come true. Play as Sonic and friends as they speed through Eggman's twisted dreamscapes to thwart the Doctor's latest quest for world domination. The story is primarily told through these still cutscenes, which actually do have a lot of life and character to them. Characters are of course 3D modeled and fully voice acted. Even though this is a mobile game, if there's one thing we have to say about this game, it is extremely impressive for a mobile game, thanks largely in part to Apple Arcade's funding. The new character is Ariam, who is like a protector of this dream realm, and Sonic's friends are trapped as little ghosts in this dream world, and Sonic has to rescue them, speed through every world. He works with his friends together to finally take on Dr. Eggman, who is like super charged up and powered up. Sonic and friends have to stop Eggman in this dream world. Like, there's literally no plot to this game. It's fine, I don't really care. The gameplay in of itself is very formulaic and almost simulator-y, and here's what I mean by this. The basic idea of progression in this game goes like this. You have one world with in total 3 different levels. Each level is locked. You have to collect these currencies right here called the Dream Orb, which will help you eventually unlock the next world. And how do you collect these Dream Orbs? Well, this is where the magic of the game kicks in. These vast levels with open-ended design have several different objectives that you can do. For example, if you want to get Dream Orbs, you can collect every single red star ring in a level. Sometimes your objective is finding these scattered emeralds throughout the world, almost like Sonic Adventure 2 treasure hunting, but it's a little bit more streamlined on how to find them because there's no radar. It tells you where to go, even though sometimes I still get lost. Sometimes you have linear time trial-esque content, which takes certain portions of the giant levels and then turns them into mini levels. And there are time trial sections for each set of playstyle, which we'll get into in a little bit. Sometimes your mission is to speed through the level and find a Dream Orb, which is placed somewhere in it, effectively cutting the level in half, basically. There will also be other collect the Dream Orb missions within that same level, but this time it's locked to certain playstyle, so now you have a certain section of the level specifically designed for certain characters' abilities. It makes all the levels that you played several times over and over again feel brand new. And one of my favorite objectives to get Dream Orbs is to put it all together at the end and do a speed run in a certain time to get to the end of the level. So this is after you've explored, you've mapped out all of your routes. Now the game wants you to put it to the test and find the quickest way to beat the level. These are some of the many ways that you can obtain the Dream Orbs in Sonic Dream Team, which will allow you to progress to the next level. The official Sonic Simulator has a similar gameplay loop. When you first start the game in Sonic Speed Simulator, all the worlds that are available are locked behind progression objectives. You have to complete all the characters' quests, level up your character to a certain level. You will then unlock keys to make it into the next world. So you could compare it to a simulator, but like pre-release reviewers were saying, probably some Super Mario 64 comparisons as well, because in Super Mario 64, you're also progression locked behind doing certain missions in separate worlds. And similar to Super Mario 64, one thing I really like about this game is the non-linear way you can progress through the story. You can kind of skip around and pick and choose which orb missions you need, because you'll need X amount to unlock each level. For example, I have Dream Factory 1, I need 10 orbs to get to Dream Factory 2. If I've done like 5 missions in a row, I can go back to Scrambled Shores and pick which mission I want to complete to get as many orbs as I need to progress to the next zone. It keeps the game feeling fresh. For example, I was on the last world and I wanted to just like switch it up a little bit because I was doing a lot of the same levels. So, you know, I ended up going back to the first world when I was on the last world. Ended up doing some of the earlier levels. It was really cool, and you actually do unlock extra missions as you progress through the game in older worlds. So you have like 4 at a time, and then you complete challenges, then you have 6, and then you have 8. So there's a reason to go back and replay older levels if you feel like it. Breaks up the pace, you're not stuck in one zone the whole time. Very similar to Super Mario 64, like I said. The progression isn't necessarily linear. Once you have gathered up enough of these orbs, you will then unlock that world's boss, which are always preceded by a very cool cutscene that is animated extremely well, almost rivaling the quality of like a Sonic Prime type animation, and definitely better than previous Sonic games, which I know it's hard to compare, but you do kind of have to ask yourself, why do the cutscenes in the short window in which we see them look better than the AAA 3D Sonic title Sonic Frontiers? I know it's in a very, very small window, but I would love to see a little bit more expression on characters in the mainline 3D Sonic series. I don't know. You fight the boss of that world, and these bosses are pretty good. They're not particularly challenging. I do find these bosses to be a breath of fresh air. When just a month ago, we had to fight this absolute demon, this piece of garbage, this unloved, evil, vile piece of shit. So yeah, after Sonic Superstars boss fights, I would actually rather prefer these fun, lighthearted, quick, gimmicky bosses that don't distract too much from the main gameplay or the main campaign. And honestly, the third boss is actually extremely fun in my opinion. The final boss is a fun platforming challenge, but overall as like an actual conclusion or climax, it's not really that strong, especially considering it's not much of a boss fight. Good level, but not really a boss fight. It's fine though. After Sonic Frontiers, the final horizon, it's going to be kind of hard to top those moments for final boss climaxes. I'm actually willing to let Super Sonic breathe for a little bit and not take away from how raw that moment was. It does enough for a mobile game. Not every game needs to push Sonic to its limits like he was in Sonic Frontiers. So that is the gameplay loop. Now let's get into the actual gameplay itself. So you have 6 different playable characters with 3 different playstyles. Sonic and Amy making up the speed characters, Tails and Cream making up the flight characters, Knuckles and Rouge making up the gliding characters. Each character basically has the same baseline core movement, but for the speed characters, you have the ability to do the light speed dash, but also the speed characters have one more movement ability that's pretty good for speedrunning, which is the air dash, which you can launch forward, similar to a homing attack in Sonic Generations, Sonic 06. It's a straight line homing attack, which is used basically for that little extra push you need when platforming. So these characters are pretty good to use when speedrunning because it gives you a little bit of extra air precision, although this game kind of struggles in that department in my opinion. The flight characters have that same boost. They lack the air dash homing attack hybrid thing, but they also now have the ability to fly. And if you look right here, you can go up, but you do run out of upwards flight mobility pretty quickly. They also do have a regular baseline homing attack as well, but the key for the flight character is if you look at these things up here, this is how you're going to progress and fly higher. Now, in my opinion, I think that these characters definitely run out of flight energy too fast, and they also fly a little bit too slow. They're very useful for the missions where you have to find these dream orb shard things, whatever you want to call them. They lack the light speed dash as you see right here, but overall it's pretty straightforward as to what these flight characters are all about. The next gameplay style is Knuckles and Rouge. These are the gliding characters. So they have a gliding ability, which is going to allow them to go a little bit further and maintain a little bit of height. And they have the ability to climb walls that are scattered throughout the map. So only red little walls like this will indicate that the gliding character can actually glide. You look right here, boom, we got another one. The only problem with this though is the gliding characters are not that good to glide with. If you look right here, let's take a look at the gliding. So we're going to try to go over here. The turning speed is not good, and the character also descends very quickly. You run out of gliding and he just plops down. There isn't a fast way to climb up the wall, so you have to go up slowly. You can't really turn that much. You also can't climb on any surface you want, only the specific set surfaces for you. Similar to Sonic Frontiers Update 3, the climbing is a little bit similar, but it's actually nerfed because there's no speed boost with the climbing like there is in Sonic Frontiers. It's actually pretty crazy because I would have told you a couple months ago that Sonic Frontiers had the worst Knuckles glide in the history of the franchise, but at least in this game, although there is that annoying like little buffer between when he actually glides, at least in this game he could maintain his glide, and eventually you also get an infinite glide. Turning speed's not great, but this was the worst Knuckles glide until I played Sonic Dream Team, and it's actually abysmal. It's not like horrible in certain situations when the level design accounts for it, like right here, you know what I'm saying, like we can kind of plop in. I just wish he was able to maintain a little bit of a better glide. Considering all the way back in 1998 they got the formula for how to play as Knuckles and how to glide as him correctly, and the fact that he can climb on any surface, I don't understand why they're having a hard time figuring out how to make the glide work for him. Luckily, the core movement for the character is very similar to Sonic, like it is in Frontiers, so it could be worse, but like, why can't I make this jump right here? What the fuck? So now you're up to speed. You know the story of the game, you know the gameplay loop, you know how each character plays, what the objectives are, and what their movesets are. Now we have to get into the nitty-gritty of the actual game and how it plays. So what is the level design like? Well, the level design is absolutely incredible. If I had to pinpoint what exactly this game is like, it's really hard to do that because I feel like it's a big mix of several different Sonic games in one. You have the open flow level design of Sonic Adventure. So many paths and different ways to explore throughout the level. For example, look right here. I can go straight through and blast with Sonic, or I could swap to Knuckles mid-game, which by the way is very very similar to the original concept of Sonic Heroes, which was designed around being able to control the characters with more traditional core movesets. So I'm going to swap over to Knuckles and I'm going to go fly up here. Lo and behold, I found some collectibles that I needed. Kind of similar to collecting things in the open zone in Sonic Frontiers or collecting the moon medals in Sonic Unleashed. The level design is definitely where this game shines the brightest. Like I said, you can go to the left right here and speed through, or you can go to the right here and explore and get more of these blue coins that you need. It's got the boost, so that would mean it's similar to all the boosting games like Sonic Generations. We got these little half pipes where it feels like I'm playing Tony Hawk, which I feel like is a really good brand that's on par with Sonic as well. You could also run on the walls like we're playing Sonic Lost World. So after I've sped through the level and got the Dream Orb, I now have more missions to complete, similar to Sonic Adventure 2. What this game Sonic Dream Team truly feels like is a combination of like almost every single Sonic game put together. And it just turns itself into something that's fresh and new and truly feels like it could be an evolution or a blueprint for the formula in the mainline 3D games. The level of exploration in a level-to-level Sonic game, because this isn't technically an open world game, is unmatched in the entire series, which is pretty crazy considering that this is a mobile game developed for phones. But just take a look at this section right here. Does it look like there's a clear, defined way I should go, other than obviously the thing that's pointing to where I'm supposed to be going? But like, look right here. If I look over to the right, I see a red star ring. I see a path where I can explore Sonic. Exploration is the name of the game, and this game does it better than probably almost any other Sonic game that matches that similar level-to-level formula. Despite the fact that the game only has technically 9 levels, you would think like, oh yeah, that's kind of disappointing. It's only 9 levels. But realistically, look how many paths there are. And with all the Dream Orbs that are available to unlock in the game, on a level-to-level basis, that being like around 100, with some of the Dream Orb objectives being completely separate sections, completely tailored to different characters that you would not find otherwise unless you're doing that specific mission, it feels like there's a lot more than 9 levels. Not many Dream Orb missions feel the same. Like this route that I'm taking right here, it feels like I'm playing a completely different level. Even though you technically replay the same level 8 times, you're replaying that same level 8 times, but in very different ways most of the time. So is there 9 levels, or does it feel like there's like 40 levels? Which, by the way, don't really overstay their welcome. None of them are longer than like 2 minutes, which I think is the perfect balance, especially with how many times you have to phase in and out of them. But this section I'm doing with Tails right here is completely separate. Like you would never find this in the original playthrough of the level unless you're playing this specific mission. The name of the game in the Sonic franchise is definitely replayability, and you will be replaying these levels a lot, especially just for the speedrunning capabilities. But when you first play a level, one of the coolest things you'll notice is that there's non-linear progression in this game. And what I mean by this is typically you'll run into a gate that's locked and you get to choose the way you want to progress. Do you want to go left first? Do you want to go right first? Do you want to try maybe running up on the walls first to try and find some red star rings? How do you want to play this level? Which is something that I can really appreciate and respect about it. It's almost like an open zone from Sonic Frontiers just put into like a level form. Maybe this could have been the evolution of cyberspace in Sonic Frontiers, because a lot of people complained about the reused level design. I would say the level design in this game is amongst the series best, so maybe this could be a formula for the future. In cyberspace, having one giant level with like 8 different objectives to do in it, cutting up certain pieces of the level into mini levels might be the way going forward, but I just really like that you don't have to progress in a certain way. Player has the freedom to do it the way they want to. There's no one way to complete a level. Look at this. I can go down the rails or I can take the Lightspeed dash path. It's truly something to behold. Another thing to really appreciate about the game is how streamlined and fluid the homing attacks can be. If you look at it, it's a really good course correction. Because it's a mobile game, it's kind of hard to control a character in a high-speed platformer, but being able to have that homing attack to lock onto some of these enemies with the boost is going to help you correct some serious mistakes. So if you're going really fast and let's say you fall off the cliff, you could spam the A button and you're back onto the rails. Sometimes this gets in the way a lot, but it certainly helps for high-speed speedrunning, especially if you make a mistake. Like, look at that. There is no way in any other Sonic game that you would make this jump. Sometimes when all else fails, if you fall off the cliff, oh, look at that. Boom. We're right back on the rails. Sometimes to the game's detriment, but when you're going really fast, it does feel kind of smooth to chain together some of those rail launch saves as well as the homing attack against the enemies. And the Lightspeed dash. Look at that. Like, that was a nice jump right there. When you cook in this game, though, it does feel really good. You can do like little rail launches. Like when I do that, the amount of dopamine that just like spikes in my brain when I satisfyingly hit a nice string of rail launches and air dashes and stuff like that, it does feel good. Are you guys ready for the dopamine spike? Ooh. Nice. And maybe I'm not the best at putting it into words, but if you look over to the left of me, you can kind of see once you get good at the game and learn the controls, which are pretty difficult to really get a feel for, because I feel like the lack of precision is definitely there. And we're going to get into kind of like the pros, because I feel like I've been praising this game a lot. But look to the left of me and get an idea for what you can do with this game, how you can catch yourself if you make a mistake, which there is a lot of mistakes to make in this game because the controls are not designed for a gamepad. I think the reason why there's a certain lack of precision and buttons is because of the gamepad, and I'm gonna get into why I think this is kind of an excuse for them leaving certain features out of the game and streamlining and making the movement just a little bit more smooth. But look to the left of me, you'll get a good idea of what it's like to maintain your flow and pace in this game, and overall, it is really satisfying to do. If you're chaining these movements together, it feels good. It feels nice. So I've talked about everything that I like about the game, and it's a pretty simple game, right? Like, it's a mobile game. The gameplay loop is very straightforward. But what do I not like about this game? Because I don't think that Sonic Dream Team is a perfect game. We spent a lot of time talking about the positives, and trust me, there's a lot. But let's talk about the cons, the things that I don't like. While there's some things to really like about the controls of this game, one of the bigger weaknesses in this game, when you consider how high the bar is set for the level design, is definitely the controls. Now, if you learn how to play the game correctly, you can mask a lot of issues with the controls. Like I said earlier in the video, there's a lot of course correction. For example, like if I jump off this cliff right here, I'm still gonna make it onto the rail. If you do some deep digging, that's a lot harder to control than you think. First and foremost, the turning speed is not that great. Like if you don't have any momentum, you can kind of move around fluidly in a circle, but if you start picking up some speed, it gets a little bit clunky to turn. Now, if you're in a straight line, you can do a little bit of wiggling. There's a little bit of bobbing and weaving room, but the character doesn't turn amazingly like he does in the open zone of Frontiers. Furthermore, this game really suffers from not having the ability to double jump. Again, there's a lot of masking that's done with the controls. Like, look at this, bro. Boom, I'm back on the rails. The fact that there's no double jump in this game, I think hurts it. Like, there's so many times where I feel like I could have definitely used the double jump, but instead it's been replaced with this little homing attack, which sometimes doesn't feel like it gets enough air. So another huge issue with the game as well when it comes to the controls aspect is the fact that you do not have a stomp ability. Now, I don't know why this wasn't included into the game, but there's so many times where I felt like I could have used it, just even out of habit, because every single boost game has featured the stomp attack. This again will lead to a lot less precision when you're platforming in the air. In addition to that, the air controls aren't that great. You don't really have that much flexibility to move around in the air. You can't really turn directions that much. You have the little homing attack, but there's times where it doesn't look right there. It not really have too much power. If you're in a straight line, it's not too bad, but if you need to change directions, you might have trouble. There are times when the controls do kind of get in the way, especially with the lack of air control. So issues like no stomp, no double jump, clunky turning can really show up when it's required for precision platforming. Absent of some of the crutches that the game provides for you, if you're trying to just like go fast and do some precision platforming, sometimes you can really mess up. This will lead to a lot of moments like this. Oh my god, we're gonna be, wait 1 second, wait 1 second. Ah! We gotta get that dream orb, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. Oh my, yo, hello? Hello, I had flight. Oh my god, dude. Okay, go up. Oh! I think the air controls kind of suck. We're gonna go up. Okay, all right. I did it again. Okay, all right. Boom. Nice. We got another one. No! So with things like the lack of the double jump, the lack of the stomp, the wonky air controls, the very weak air dash, it's hard to get the same level of precision that you have in Sonic Frontiers with the movement. Like when I say that there's air precision in Sonic Frontiers, here's what I mean. We can boost, stomp, boost, stomp, boost, stomp, boost, stomp, boost, stomp, go across, double jump. You know what I mean? Absent of some of the crutches that the game provides for you, like those crazy homing attack ranges that you have to go on very long grind rail segments, the game doesn't have as much precision as some of the platforming in games like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, and definitely Sonic Frontiers. Yes, I said it. If you look at the clip to the left of me, this is me speedrunning one of the towers in Sonic Frontiers, and if you threw Sonic Dream Team Sonic with those controls into that tower, it would be a much different story. Although I think Frontiers in the open zone has some of the best movement in the entire Sonic franchise, because if you threw Unleashed Sonic or Generation Sonic onto that tower, they would probably have an issue with that as well. Now the question is, do we give the game the benefit of the doubt because it's a mobile game? And you know, the controls are technically designed for a touchscreen. Yes, I would say that's definitely the case. We should give it the benefit of the doubt because as a mobile game, it's absolutely incredible. But there is this discussion going around like, can we compare it to the mainline Sonic games? That's where it gets a little tricky. So it has an excuse. Does it really? Let me explain. Take a look at Sonic Speed Simulator, which is also the mobile counterpart to Sonic Dream Team. This game is also made for touch controls as well, but it's hard to compare the two obviously. But if there's one thing that this game does better, it has way significantly better air controls than Sonic Dream Team. And consider this game also features the boost. It also has 2-button controls, but here's the thing, despite the fact that it has 2-button controls, it has a better air boost that can be used multiple times. You can change directions at will in midair, and also you have a stomp. It's actually more of like a stomp dash. Look at that right there. So yes, Dream Team should be given the benefit of the doubt because it's a mobile game, but Sonic Speed Simulator also also has a very similar control scheme, also made for touch devices. So what is the excuse of Sonic Dream Team not having a stomp ability and better air controls overall? So I think this idea that Sonic Dream Team can't be given some type of stomp ability because of the 2-button mobile controls kind of falls flat. And I do find that it can hold the game back with respect to the controls and the precision of the platforming. Here's the thing though, I want to be as fair as possible because I feel like I should play the game a little bit more and master the controls and get better, which I have been doing. The game's only been out for a day. Like if I play this for a week, I'll probably end up mastering the controls, which I feel like I'm getting better and better by the day. But that's just like my initial hot take. And I do think there's some evidence to back up the fact that there's some abilities that are missing from this game that could have been in it. Another nitpick I have with the game is how on rails it can feel. For example, if you're in Scrambled Shores right here, you have the 2 paths. You have the left or the right path. Let's say you cleared out this right path over here and you don't need to go over there. If you accidentally happen to go through here, you can't go off the rails. You're basically stuck. Like you have to jump up and turn backwards, but you can't you don't have free control. You can't jump off of the rails. So it's like, how do I get off this thing? Well, I can't because I have to go through here. And then you're just stuck on these grind rails for what seems like forever. Look how long this grind rail trail is right here. It's like we're on this thing. I can't go around. Like I can't turn around. I can't turn around here either. But sometimes you get stuck and it feels like you're on the grind rails. And this is part of the crutches that the game has. And it's probably to make the game easier so you don't fall off the rails, which I can respect. But I wish there was a way to, let players have free reign of what they're able to do on the grind rails. Once again, if you're playing Roblox Sonic, you can jump onto these rails, and if I want to jump off or go back on, if I want to do a nice big loop and just, the movement's a little bit more free in this game, I can do that. And I think it's fair to compare those two because they're both 2-button games developed for mobile. What is one of the most absolutely fun things to do in Sonic Frontiers? It's definitely rail launching. This was basically our first way to actually experience momentum in the game. And if you look right here, look how much air I'm able to get. Even before the spin dash, this was the way you experience momentum in Sonic Frontiers, and it was absolutely one of the best mechanics they ever introduced to Sonic. So I wish there was a little bit more free range and control when you're on the grind rails in Sonic Dream Team, because sometimes you're getting soft locked to sections you already completed. I think another thing to not like about the game, I guess the story is kind of weak, although I'm not really as mad about it. I don't think this game really needed to be story driven at all. It's good that we got anything and we got voice acting, and I kind of do like the way that they told the story as well with the cutscenes. We're still able to kind of see what's going on. Of course, we would like fully animated cutscenes, but again, this is a mobile game. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I'm sure some people have nitpicks with that. Another thing that I really like, but also find annoying, is the character ability switching. So when you're running throughout the game, you're gonna have to stop, and then you have to wait for the character switch screen to pop up, and then you have to click it. You have to wait a little bit for it to pop up, and then you have to wait a second or two in order to switch to the characters. Is it the end of the world? No. But when I'm doing a mission where I need to actually switch to the characters, some of the open world objectives actually require that. It's kind of just tedious and a pain in the ass. When I see the Knuckles section over here and I see the Tails section over here, I have to stop my character. I have to go over to the screen. Sometimes it takes a little bit to load, and I gotta switch to Sonic, wait a little bit. I always roll my eyes at this. While I love the concept, I kind of wish it was a little bit more of a fluid transition. I would have absolutely preferred if there was a one-tap quick swap method for the characters like Sonic Heroes. Maybe that would have turned the game into Sonic Heroes 2 or something, and they probably could have maybe added a little more flavor to the levels. But in Sonic Heroes, you quickly transition between the characters, so it's less of a chore. It's actually kind of exciting to switch between the characters. In Dream Team, when I come across those sections, I just roll my eyes. I'm like, I gotta do this. But it's so cool that we have the option. I like it. It just could have been executed a little bit better. Another thing I would like to see is maybe more post-game content, which I guess could be alleviated with these Tails challenges. It's gonna remain to be seen exactly how these will play out. It says we get new challenges in 1 day and 19 hours, but basically these are just rehashes of challenges that we already did. Hopefully the post-launch content can live up to the overall quality of the game. Apparently Dream Team is gonna have post-launch content. If it's just rehashing the Tails missions, a little disappointing, but if we actually get new missions, new worlds, new characters, this game could end up becoming a whole different beast. I really did enjoy this game, so I'm very excited to see what comes next. If not for nothing, the lessons that Sonic Team can learn in the mainline 3D Sonic games from this game are going to be exciting to watch play out in real time as well. So Sonic Dream Team is definitely a game that is worthy of mainline quality when you consider some of the releases that have come out in the Sonic franchise. It's definitely a breath of fresh air, and it's really cool to see that they're experimenting with new ideas, and it feels like a lot of lessons that were learned in this game should definitely be applied to the sequel to Sonic Frontiers. For example, the level design of this game definitely belongs in cyberspace. Merge cyberspace with Dream Team levels, and I think we got something good going on. While the controls are a little bit off, there's some issues beyond the excuse that, oh, it's just for touch control. Because on a game controller, there's still some things that I pointed out, which are kind of an issue. So I do think people kind of need to pump the brakes when they call this game better than Sonic Frontiers. Although I wouldn't necessarily blame someone if they thought this game was better than Frontiers due to the fact that Frontiers was kind of divisive. If you don't like it, you probably hate it, and there's there's no in between. Me personally though, based off the level of movement and control that I have in Frontiers, the ambition, I just find it to be better. So I'm not going to put this game over Sonic Frontiers, but this game definitely is worthy and stacks up against other mainline Sonic games. So if you have an Apple device, absolutely go play this game. Would I recommend going out of your way to spend money on an Apple device to buy this game? Like, would you drop $130 on an Apple TV to buy this game? No. But the game is certainly good. It's very charming. It introduces so many great ideas. The level design is incredible. And when you're flowing, the flow is pretty good. Like I said, I think I got to get better with the controls, and I feel like I've really gotten much better. But there's still some abilities in previous Sonic games that I wish were in there that would make the experience just a little bit better. But overall, a very fun game. I recommend any Sonic fan to go play this game. We're chalking this up as another W. I'm so excited for the future of Sonic. The franchise has such a very, very bright future. Can you believe in the year 2023, we're getting good Sonic games? Like, I liked Frontiers a lot, so maybe I'm biased. I really like Dream Team, and Superstars is pretty good too. It's insane to me, after all these years of Sonic being a laughingstock, we got another good Sonic game. Like, this game is actually fun. And just for the record, like, as a mobile game, it's definitely a 10 out of 10. If you're comparing this against like any other mobile game I've ever played, it's probably a 10 out of 10. It's that good. It's not 100% perfect when you consider some of the limitations, but strictly we're talking as a mobile game, definitely incredible. And let me know what you guys think about it down below.